Hello, beautiful people. My name is Celeste, and today we are talking about 3 things that nobody tells you during the awakening process. Okay? Now, this is what I've realized throughout the years looking back. Nobody told me this. And still, what I find interesting is that a lot of people don't talk about this. So I wanted to share this with you guys. I know a lot of you are experiencing the wake-up calls, the activations, really strong spiritual experiences, or just curious about what all this is. So 3 things, okay? Number 1, it takes time, right? So all of this started for me 2013, around there. I started to be exposed to a lot of the spiritual work, a lot of the inner work, a lot of the self-help work, the inner child healing, all of that stuff. And it takes a lot of time to integrate. So something I didn't realize was that it's not just about reading it and doing it, or receiving the session, or receiving the healing, and that's it. It takes time, and that means it could take hours, it could take weeks, it could take months, it could take years to really understand the messages that we're receiving, the healings that we're receiving, the entire process. It just takes a lot of time. And I didn't realize that. I would go into healing work or sessions, or I would do a lot of inner work and just think, okay, I just did that, I received that healing, that session, it'll take a day or two to integrate. A lot of these things don't click until months or maybe years later. Sometimes I sit down with my husband and we have conversations and we're like, remember when we, read that book and we read these theories about being present or being one with the universe, and we're like, yeah, that sounds good. I like that theory. I'm going to put that to work. 5 years later, you're like, oh my God, I get that. I get it. I just felt it, and I can now take that feeling out into the world. 5 years later. So a lot of the things that we read, a lot of people ask me like, yeah, I get it. A lot of this stuff sounds really nice. What do I do with it, right? To me, it's really important to just read it and be with it. And if it resonates, keep it. Just because you don't fully understand it or don't feel like it's really sinking in, if you resonate with it, and that's a really important thing, that means it's good for you. That means stay with it. Go back to it. Keep that book. Keep that journal. Make notes about the process. And as the time goes, months, years, maybe decades, things will start to click. Okay, so that's number 1. I wish somebody told me that years ago. Okay, number 2. Okay, this is really important. When you start to activate and upgrade, I'm going to make sure this becomes really clear with the mic. The shit will hit the fan. And I don't know what other words to use for that. Things get real. So what happens? Let's talk about this a little bit. You're being exposed to a higher frequency. And higher frequency could mean reading a book, understanding a concept, a healing session, a meditation, a spiritual practice. It could mean a variety of things. That is being presented to you and is asking you to level up. Right? So something is coming to you, it comes into your body, into your experience, and then you are being asked to come up to meet it. That means that your frequency is changing. Now what happens? I like to think about it as, this is not a bad thing, but think about it as a cup full of water, right? And so we come into this body, we come into this life and experience. The cup is full let's say it's soil, you know, I don't want to say dirt. It's not negative, it's not a bad thing, but we bring soil with us. We bring, you know, the water is not clear. So as we progress in these stages and through life, we start to clear out the dirt or the soil, and the water starts to become clear, right? But there's a process to that. You can't just take out the soil and just make the water clear. It's not that simple. It's not that easy. So as the dirt and as the soil rises, and that's a metaphor to our body, to our physical body and to our auric field, our energy body, as the frequency starts to rise, something has to be let go. Something has to be released. Something, in my words, has to explode. It has to come out. And that's when all of the stuff starts to come up. The emotions, the ego will start to fight for itself. It will start to try to stay alive. The lower self, the lower ego. There's a positive side to the ego and there's a negative side to the ego. And we can talk about that in later videos. But that stuff will start to come up and things will start to manifest in your life that are not necessarily in our eyes positive. So it doesn't mean that, you know, a lot of people reach out to me and they're like, man, things are really getting tough. Like, why is all this stuff happening to me? It's not that stuff is happening to you. It's that you're clearing your field. You're clearing your body. You're becoming a beautiful light vessel. And in that process, you got to let go of stuff. So whenever you are faced with a situation that is uncomfortable or really nasty or yucky, or you're like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. I'm not liking this. Stop. Breathe. Allow the ego, the higher part, the positive part of the ego, to take a step in, kind of calm, kind of soothe the lower self and be like, hey, I'm in this process right now. Let's be clear. What's really happening? Nothing is happening to me. Nothing is attacking me. This is an opportunity for me to release a little bit more soil, to clear that cup of water a little bit more, to become a little bit more of a clear, vital, translucent vessel for this world, for me to receive higher information and higher knowings and understandings, and to live a more clear, pure, divine, higher frequency life. And here's the tricky part, last part of this is, in the beginning, what I've noticed is that any of those practices, self-help, book, a meditation, a yoga practice, a healing, anything that you're doing, even a detox of the body, there's a little bit of a lag. So you'll do, for example, a healing session or a meditation, or you'll work with somebody, or you'll work with yourself, and it'll take maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks until something hits. And there's like a little explosion, as I like to say, in the external world. So you might forget, oh yeah, I had that session, or I did that meditation, or I spoke to that person and something was ignited within me. And here I am 2 weeks later. It could be 2 hours later, it could be 2 days later, just making a point that there's a little bit of a lag. And now I'm experiencing this thing in my external reality that's not necessarily to my ego positive. Now, as you start to clear the vessel more and more, and the frequency becomes higher, that lag starts to shorten, to the point where things become really fast. And this is what people talk about when they're like, things are speeding up. Really interesting experience. I had a really deep meditation upgrade just this past weekend. And immediately, the next day, something really big, a huge opportunity between my husband and I came up. And it was like, oh yeah, we're in this process, and I just had this really deep, beautiful understanding meditation where I received so much beautiful information. But now here's the real part, right? Now I get to put it into practice, right? So it's not just, a lot of us get really excited about receiving sessions and information and healing work, but what really happens when it's time to take it into the world and put it into practice? That's when the cup really starts to clean itself. That's when the vessel really has an opportunity to level up, to increase in frequency. So I found that interesting because it was immediate. It was the next day, literally the next day we woke up, boom, it happened. So it wasn't even 12 hours later, right? So those are things to watch out for. And then also, when you're aware of that, you start to become a little bit more gentle with the process. You become a little bit more gentle with yourself. You start to understand more. This is not about me, Celeste, the ego, trying to hold myself up. What can I do with the situation? How can I be more loving first towards myself in this process, and then towards the person in front of me or the situation that's coming up for me? So that's number 2. Number 3, your life will change. Now, a lot of us are willing to do the work. A lot of us are willing to introspect and take the time. A lot of us are willing to be gentle with ourselves. But this process will bring up an opportunity for you to change your life and up-level your life. And again, that up-leveling and that changing of your life is not always going to be what your mind or your ego thought it wanted. So when there's an opportunity to do something different, to show up in the world in a different way, or maybe to show up in the world in a way that you thought you were done showing up in that way, but it's coming up again, or you're being asked to do something that's very uncomfortable. Like, a lot of us in this process are asked to move. My husband and I have moved within the past, we always talk about it, it's so funny. Within the past 2 years, 3 years, we've moved 3 times, 4 times for a period of time. We just traveled the world. We didn't have a home for, 6 months. And it's not necessarily a choice we made, like, we're going to move. It was just, you need to do this. You're being called. You need to know what it feels like not to have to travel or to be out. And it wasn't comfortable. This stuff is supposed to be comfortable, right? So it's this experience of, how is my ego taking it? How is my lower self reacting to this? Am I willing to take that jump? Am I willing to go that extra step and that extra mile, this invisible ladder, this ascension, this awakening, the spiritual process of increasing your frequency? It's an invisible ladder. You don't know what's next, and you can't judge it. So are you willing to change your life in the ways that are asked of you, not necessarily the way that you want? Right? And ultimately, I think it helps to know that if it's being asked of you, it's for your higher good. And it's a little bit exciting. In the beginning, it's a little bit scary because you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, that's scary. I don't want to go there. And the more you take those little jumps and those little steps, you start to realize, wow, it was really worth it. If I wasn't asked to show up in the world in a way that was uncomfortable or do something that I would have never thought of doing, I would have never had that experience. And I would never be able to share that. So be willing. You say it's all willing hearts. Those are willing and those are ready. Yeah. Those that are willing and those that are ready. And it's a joyous ride. It's a roller coaster of a ride, and it is beautiful. So those are the 3 things. So to wrap it up, number 1, it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, self-love. Number 2, things get really real. Things get heavy, things get tough. You can do it. If it's being presented in your life and it's challenging you, you're ready for it. Take it as an opportunity. Number 3, your life will change. It will change always for the better, and sometimes to get to that better part, it's going to take a little bit of work. It's going to take a little bit of releasing judgments, releasing fears, taking that jump. Okay? I hope this helps. I really look forward to hearing from you guys, how you're liking these videos, what content you're interested in. And I send you a lot of love and a lot of blessings, and I will show you the beautiful ocean and the sun rays to finish this video. Blessings.